I was diagnosed in 1991 when I was 28 years old. Diabetes has run in my family. My grandfather, who was 40 years old, died of diabetic complications. His brothers and sisters both lived into their 70s and 80s, so I was very familiar with what diabetes was, but didn't really know the symptoms. And when I started losing weight, I lost about 25 pounds, very thirsty, going to the bathroom a lot, kind of questioned what was going on.
I got sick and I contracted a stomach virus, and I had 3 doctors that went and tried to diagnose my condition, and they couldn't find out what was wrong with me. So they sent me to an endocrinologist who discovered that I had a stomach virus, and the stomach virus had attacked my pancreas, and my pancreas was no longer making insulin for my body, and so they dubbed me as a type 1 diabetic.
Almost 38 years of living with this disease is hard to imagine, but I've survived through it. So.
You'd be surprised that when you say you have diabetes and you say, well, I have type 1 diabetes, and people will say, type 1? There's more than one type?
Most people think type 1 diabetes only affects children. I'm almost 38 years old, and I've been a diabetic since I was 7, so it's hard for people to understand when they hear type 1 diabetic or juvenile diabetic that adults are diabetic too.
Probably my biggest challenges are with friends I have, with people I meet up with in my life, because I am in medical sales, that really don't understand diabetes, and I get so frustrated trying to understand why they don't know better.
The first thing that pops in my mind is I always hear people say, oh, well, diabetics can't have sugar, can't have carbs. And that's obviously a misconception, because there's no way in the world that you could avoid carbs and sugar.
You wouldn't believe the comments I've gotten over the years. I worked in a hospital for years, and everybody knew I had diabetes. It was no secret. I've never made it a secret. But so many people would come up behind me. They would see that I had a hamburger on my plate, or that I had pizza that day, or that maybe I had gotten some pudding, they would proceed to think they needed to lecture me about how I should eat and not eat. And of course, by then, I knew about counting carbohydrates, and I knew about adjusting your insulin based on the amount of carbohydrates you're going to eat. And I had gotten very good at doing that, so I was very confident about it. And then here these people trying to tell me that I should or shouldn't be doing things, and it's quite frustrating.
We did a JDRF fundraiser where we had a hot dog roast, and some people objected to that. They thought that was just totally inappropriate for a diabetic fundraiser to have hot dogs. And while not really healthy, it's not taboo to eat hot dogs or hamburgers or what have you in moderation. But a lot of people think you can't have any sugar or any carbohydrates, that you can't have an occasional piece of cake without the icing, etc. And so it's good to kind of be able to talk to people and kind of help clear up those misconceptions.
I think adults with type 1 have to worry about, it's more important for adults that more than likely they've had it for many years, for 10, 25, even 50 years. And so obviously the longer you have it, the more you have to worry about the long-term complications of blindness, amputations, and that kind of thing. And so it's really important for adults to make sure that they are in, their A1Cs are in normal range, and they're taking care of themselves.
Being an adult, we have many challenges, and being a diabetic, you have to manage your diabetes along with managing everything else with life, raising a family, working, managing stress. There's so many more aspects of managing your diabetes when you're an adult. And being an adult, you don't have the constant supervision of a parent or a guardian helping you monitor, so it's much more of your own responsibility, and that comes with a lot more stress, and that makes managing diabetes difficult too.
One of the things, my 16-year-old was just diagnosed within the last 2 months, and I've kind of been watching some of the things that he goes through that I don't go through, and vice versa. But one of the things that's just been talked about, because of our lifestyle being so active and working, what have you, and sitting around and not being very active as far as activities, I really have to be very cognizant of what I eat and how I continue to do things from a health standpoint that my son is really not having to worry about. One of the things he has to deal with is, because he's so active, we have to really adjust what his insulin intake is so he doesn't go low, which presents some interesting challenges going both ways.
I would probably have to say diet, because it's truly a lifestyle change. Growing up, being able to just have the lifestyle and the diet that you've had, and then all of a sudden you have a disease that pretty much has made a roadblock for you and just pretty much has you taking a different path that you normally would have been able to take if you didn't have this disease.
The biggest challenge is just, has been talked about, is being disciplined and remembering to take a blood sugar reading and take insulin with me when I travel. I also have to take diabetic supplies with me and remember that. Whenever I go out, I have to remember to take my blood sugar machine just in case we go to a meal while we're out. So it's just the remembering all of the different things that go along with that.
I think the hardest thing for me is a lot of times my blood sugar will go too high or too low, and I can't explain it. And you know, no matter how hard you try, sometimes you just cannot get the right amount of insulin to make your blood sugar level at the normal range.
Every day is different, and that's probably the hardest part, because some days you can do everything perfectly and your blood sugars are never stable. You can exercise the same, eat the same thing, then maybe you have a stressful day and your blood sugars go up, and it's hard to manage when you never know what life is going to bring or what kind of instances might come up that cause challenges. So every day is a different day, and that's probably the hardest part about living with diabetes.
I've started exercising in the last 3 or 4 years, and I used to not do that before I went on the pump. But the real benefit of that is being able to stay in shape, but also I have to be real careful about going too low and having the issues that go along with that.
So just day-to-day small things like trying to keep from getting hurt as far as getting any cuts or abrasions on your body, making sure you eat healthy and keep yourself in shape. Those are basic things that we all need to do, but it's most important for someone with diabetes.
My parents and a group of other parents with children with diabetes came together in the 80s, late 80s, and formed the Palmetto Chapter of the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation here in Columbia. The first meeting was actually in our den. It was a very small group of people, and now it has grown to be one of the top nonprofit organizations, and it's been so great. I mean, we never imagined that it would become this huge, and it's been great getting to know other diabetics with it, having people to talk to, and just getting different perspectives on it, and so it's been great.
I actually got a chance to meet the executive director of JDRF at my job, and we were actually talking, and when she found out that I had diabetes, we had a nice long conversation. So I got involved at that point and decided to support them, obviously because I have the disease. And to be honest, I may never see a cure in my lifetime, but I do all I can for the organization because I know that there are other children that have this. So if not for myself, then hopefully for them.
The benefit of having JDRF has been that when my 16-year-old was diagnosed in August, we had an individual we could go to and ask questions of and get information that I didn't have to deal with as an adult, as far as treatment and where to go from a hospital standpoint, and also recognizing that I've got some things that I can offer to families who don't really understand what they're dealing with, or maybe are panicking when a child or even an adult member of their family has diabetes. So I realize that there are a lot of things that I can offer as both an individual with diabetes and also as a parent of a diabetic.
JDRF is the tool that brings together the support group. They bring together researchers, and they bring information to diabetics that will lead us to helping find a cure. JDRF is an amazing support group, and the outreach that JDRF provides to diabetics through the research, through the fundraising, is what is the support and the success of JDRF.
If you really understand diabetes and you get hooked up with some really positive people, it can end up being almost a blessing in your life. I feel like I'm a very disciplined person, very healthy eater because of having diabetes.
All of the research and the funding that's been going into JDRF has been a blessing to myself and all people with diabetes because of all the things they've been able to find to continue to help us in our quest to fight this disease.
One of the reasons why I'm a very tight, controlled diabetic is because I don't want to have to deal with the eye issues or the kidney issues or the amputation issues that some people do. And I've seen people that have gone through and not been very well controlled. So I really would love to have a cure. It would mean a lot less challenges as far as keeping up with things. It would also be very beneficial for my 16-year-old who is going to have to live with it obviously a lot longer than I am, but it would be really great to be able to help eliminate some of the needs and be able to eat what you want to eat when you want to eat it and not have to worry about, is it time, is it too quick, have I eaten too much already, etc.
There are so many people I love very dearly that I've met over the years that I would love for that cure to be available for them. Diabetes, unfortunately, is a real burden for so many people. And I would just be very happy to see that. I will tell you that my involvement with JDRF, as it's increased over the years, for so long I said, I don't know that I'll see that cure in my lifetime. I'm now 58 years old. I've had diabetes since I was 6. And I didn't think that I would see the cure. But now, I'll be honest, I really do think that we'll see it in my lifetime because I'm going to live to be 100. And so, I do feel very excited about that. JDRF is just doing so much to help with that. It's just anybody that's not involved with JDRF is just missing a great opportunity to be very excited about what we have to offer.
I think that a cure would mean peace of mind.
I can sum that up in one word: freedom.
Just not thinking about it, not having to think, oh, did I take my insulin before I ate, or do I have to worry about my blood sugar going too low later on in the night, and just having that freedom from it all, and whether that's from growing my own islet cells and actually having them produce the insulin like a non-diabetic, or if it's artificial implantable pancreas doing the work for me, that would be a cure for me.
A cure would be what everyone who's lived with diabetes has been waiting for their entire life and their entire struggle with diabetes. So we've been working towards a cure, and when the cure comes, it'll be an answer to so many prayers.